what if it wasn't genetics? And that started an entirely different paradigm for me, a different attitude thinking. And of course, now I do presentations on genetics. I teach on genetics and how you are not your genetics, you're your genetic expression. How your gut expresses is up to you as to what you feed it expresses differently. So I got to the age of, I would have been 21. I changed my diet quite radically. So I instantly went from your typical Kiwi diet to being a strict vegan, plant-based eating. And I started regular fasting, and I know we're going to be talking about fasting today, so I've got some funny stories about that which we can touch on. So I started fasting regularly. I started eating a plant-based whole food diet. I gave away the meat, the alcohol, all the junk foods, everything. I started going to bed early. I started doing yoga, getting up in the morning early and having a routine. Started swimming in the morning, doing breaststroke to increase my lung strength. And over the course of 5 years, I cured everything. And so by the time I was 25, I'd cured my asthma, my hay fever, my allergies, my flus, my bugs, my colds. My skin was completely cleared up, no acne, no digestive issues, no bloating, no weight problems. All of it was cured. And all I'd done was change my diet, my lifestyle, and my environment. And that was kind of the beginning of the journey for me. And I mean, it's amazing. And people say to me, oh, you're so... People would say to me, you're so irritatingly healthy. I got into my mid-30s after being healthy for 10 years. And they'd say, God, you really annoy me because you're so healthy and you're so glowing and you're irritating, you're so well. And I'd say to them, I wasn't always well. This has been a new phenomena for me. Most of my life at that point, I'd been sick every day. And I would always be in bed with flus and allergies and sinus problems and breathing and, just trying to breathe, just trying to get air in the lungs was a big deal for me for most of my life, So I used to find it funny when people would say, you're such an inspiration, you're so healthy. And I'd say, well, they'd say, oh, it must be good genetics. And I'd always say, well, it's nothing to do with genetics. I changed what I did, how I lived my life. And anyway, now I've been a health researcher for 30 years and I'm now a granddad. I've got 4 adult children and I've raised them all with good foods and the things I've learned. And what I've learned along the way is that when you look at your health, there's 4 things that dictate to your health, whether you get heart disease or cancer, how long you live, your energy levels, 4 things that dictate all of that. And the first one is diet, what you eat, how much you eat. The second thing is lifestyle, and that's, do I drink alcohol, do I smoke cigarettes, do I do drugs, do I stay up late, those things. And then more the behavioral area. And the third one is environmental. And the environment is, where do I live? Do I live in a cold climate or a warm climate? Do I live next to a nuclear radiation dump? If I do, I'm going to die of nuclear radiation sickness. Doesn't matter how many green smoothies I have, I'm still going to die from sickness. So the environment can trump your diet and your lifestyle. So, and then the fourth one is genetics. And when you actually really delve into the research, which is what I've been doing for 30 years, I'm a health researcher and a speaker and a best-selling author. And when I was writing my first book, Eat Less, Live Long, I really started to look at the epidemiology and the longevity studies. And one of the interesting things that's really stood out with the longest lived cultures is that they eat dramatically less than we do, and they often go without food. Hence, the fasting conversation. So when you really look at those 4 pillars, genetics is about 1 to 3% of our disease. So you look at how long you're going to live, 1 to 3% is dictated to by your genetics. And 97% is about what you do every day. So when you really start to understand that concept, and for a lot of people that's quite a head shift, it's quite a, whoa, you mean just because my mum had breast cancer doesn't mean I'm going to get breast cancer? Just because my dad had a heart attack doesn't mean I'm going to have a heart attack? When you start to understand that, it is a bit of a world changer, a game changer, because you suddenly start to see everything differently. You go, oh.
A lot of control.
Exactly. You have control over your environment, and that's why in my second book, my first golden rule is be prepared and control your environment. And if you start to control your environment, like right here in this environment where we're talking, there's a glass of water next to me. So for the next hour or 2 or 3 hours, however long we talk, all I've got access to is a glass of water. Right? And I can have a sip of the water. Huh? But if there was McDonald's here or cola drinks or junk food or rubbish, I might grab that. I mean, I wouldn't because I choose what I eat. But you know what I mean? In my environment, what's in your environment is where you go to. And a lot of people make that mistake. They jump into being healthy or they try fasting or whatever, but they don't change their fundamental environment. And you have to change that if you want to be well, because when you wake up and you're tired and you're emotional and you reach for food, you're going to reach for whatever's there. And if there's an apple there, or if there's a pile of 3-week-old chips, You'll have the chips if they're there. You'll have the apple if it's there. Or I'll have the glass of water if it's here. So, diet, lifestyle, environment. So yeah, I've had quite an interesting journey where I can honestly say it is so worth it to be healthy. I've had the best time. Since I was 25 to now, I haven't been sick. I've had no colds, no flus, no bugs, no virus, nothing. And I'm around sick people all over the world. I travel all over the world. I speak. I'm around sick people all the time. I never get sick. And I used to be sick every day for 20 years. So I'm a really good example of that it's actually not your genetics, but it's what you do with your genetics. It's what you do with your genetic expression in your gut, your microbiome, and how that expresses itself as to how well you are. So that led me to speaking and teaching and writing the books, and here we are today.